Hard to believe we're in the teens as far as Election Day is concerned. The countdown to Your Vote 2012. Over the last few weeks, we've seen the candidates, the parties all talk about the debt, where it is, how it affects things. Wanted to bring on a friend to the Roundtable. He's been on here before, but he's professor of economics over at the University of Toledo, Professor Bing Ajalore. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Roundtable once again.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I said to you during the break when we were talking about the debt conversation can be as broad as you need it to be. Not you, just a general pronoun there, but as you look at it, and I put up here, why should you care? Why should our voters, why should our viewers care? I put that to you. Why?
Well, we should care because it affects our economy. And one of the biggest problems is that debt, you have to pay it back. So you think about a credit card. If you have a $20,000 credit limit, you should care because that has to be paid off at some point. That doesn't go away. Same thing for the federal government. That has to be paid off, and it's preventing us from doing things that we can't do. You know, we want to invest in education, we want to invest in infrastructure, but we have to pay down the debt. We pay interest payments. So a lot of these things affect the decisions that we make, decisions that Congress and the president has to make.
You're teaching, obviously, a number of classes where real world experience comes into class quite often. Is it one of those, I guess, misnomers by the students or misunderstandings, let's put it that way, that this federal debt, because you always hear out there the argument, well, we can just keep printing money, but then other people are like, well, you don't want to keep printing money because just like running a credit card tab, it keeps adding up, right?
Right. I mean, both is kind of correct, where we're not going to default. And reason why that we can continue to print money is that we are the strongest economy in the nation. However, the problem comes, and this came up last year with the debt ceiling, is that if it looks like we aren't going to do something about it, then we lose our credit rating, which then slows our growth. And that's actually one of the reasons why this year we've had slower growth than normal. If we actually had voted for the debt ceiling and didn't have that issue last year, our growth would be higher. So that's why it still is a problem. While we don't need to go down to, we don't have to, be stringent or go back down to zero debt, we need to, at some point, work towards going down. It's one of the things they say where for every dollar that we spend, 40 cents of it's borrowed.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
I said to you before we started today, I said, as far as the debt is concerned, we are handcuffed. You said, no, we're not. We're handcuffed to do anything about it. And you said, no, that's not the case.
No, we can do something about it. This election is a very important election, as every election is important.
Right.
I mean, we're voting for president, but also we're voting for senator and for House members. These people are the ones who make the decision, and we decide who goes there.
But I said to you, and as the conversation continued, I said, you can vote somebody in, you can vote somebody to stay, you can vote across the board the way you want things to go, but if the wind blows one way and somebody changes their mind, we're out of the loop.
But people are elected every 2, 4, 6 years. But the other thing is they are making decisions based on, is this going to get me reelected?
How bad is having a $15 trillion debt right now?
It's difficult and it's problematic, but it's not. We can't look at it static. Like, we can't look at the number as 15 trillion. The question is, where is it headed? Is it 15 trillion going to 20? Is it 15 trillion going down to 10? The key is, what are we doing to try to pay down the debt?
What's your read? Which direction you think it's going?
It's hard to say.
I put you on the spot right there.
You did put me on the spot. But one of the difficult thing is, I look at it more as, what are they going to do? So last year, President Obama and Speaker Boehner came up with a plan. They called this grand bargain, was to do a $4 trillion decrease. If that had passed, then that would have put us on the right path. And it's one of those things where, are we going to go on the right path? Are they going to be able to put something together? If Romney wins, is Romney and the Congress, are they going to put us on a path? The key is, what are we going to do? What is Congress going to do and the president to get us on the right path to go down? So right now, the debt is a problem. But the question is, what are we trying to do? Now, the easiest thing to do is to have the economy do well. If the economy does well, that's what happened in the 90s. We had a great economy, booming growth, and we went from a deficit to a surplus. But until then, what else can we do? Well, we can work on increased revenue, we can work on cutting spending. And that's what the president and Congress needs to focus on. That's what their goal should be.
We got a couple minutes left, and you had brought up the mortgage, getting rid of deductions there as a possible solution, but something that doesn't necessarily make people happy.
Right. Well, I just heard one of the statements that if we got rid of the mortgage interest deduction, that would give us $100 billion in revenue. That would go a long way towards getting rid of debt.
But is that just a drop in the bucket, or is that a good start?
No, that's a really good start.
Yeah.
But that's just one deduction.
Yeah.
There are thousands of deductions out there that can be cut. And so if one could bring us 100 billion, what could 10 do? That's a trillion. Trillion out of 15 trillion. So there's a lot of things that we can do that it's politically unfeasible to do. And that's where we come in.
Yeah.
We as people, in terms of who we vote for. And to be honest with ourselves, okay, we need to get rid of this debt. We're going to vote people in who are going to make the tough decisions. And if they make those tough decisions and that works, we need to reward them by re-electing them.
And it's interesting because we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we've done the truth tests on the ads and talking about where each candidate stands as far as, but as you look at the plans, and I'm not asking you to pick a candidate, I'm just asking you to look at these plans, and is there a little bit in both that maybe would work?
The problem with the plans is that they're very vague, and they're vague on purpose, because the minute they give specifics, like for example, Romney's talking about cutting tax rates. Well, that's going to help spur the economy, but to pay for that is also going to increase deficit. But to pay for that is get rid of deductions. If he has mortgage interest deductions that he's getting rid of in that plan, he's going to get savaged. So because of that, he doesn't put that in his plan. So there's not enough in the plan to really evaluate how well they're going to work.
And then is there vagueness on the other side as well?
There's a vagueness on both sides.
Yeah.
And so where you say, okay, well, we're going to increase investments, or we're also going to let tax cuts expire, but maybe only for the top 5%. It's still too vague to be able to say, are these actually going to work? Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're vague again is because you give specifics, they're going to get you on that.
Yeah. Benga, as always, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk with us. Obviously something that comes up again and again, and especially as we look in the waning days of this election. Definitely important that people kind of listen in and see what you have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and hopefully next time we won't be talking about the debt crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Stay right there. We'll wrap things up for this Sunday right after this here on the Roundtable.